our like weird starts to the episodes yet.
That's true. What did we say we were going to do?
We had like sexy voice, then we had announcer voice.
But this was the awkward pause.
Awkward pause.
Start. I'm Lia, by the way. I forgot to introduce myself.
Oh, I'm Jerrica.
I think you said your name. We did awkward pause start. For those of you, it was suspenseful.
Suspense. What am I listening to?
We started and then it was just silence and it was a weird laugh and then we really got into it. Yeah.
Well, welcome again to We'd Rather Be Reading. I'm Jerrica.
And I'm Lia.
And today we are talking about another romance book that we chose during our wine-induced state. But you know what? Loved it.
Yeah, but this one, I feel the reason why we liked this and the reason why we chose this was because it's narrated by Erin Mallon, which is one of your requirements for all books.
All books.
And it's written by Serena Bowen, which is one of the authors I actually enjoy her books.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is perfect. It's called Lies and Lullabies, and it's the first book. We started at book number 1 in the Hush Note series.
Oh, this is a continuation thing.
Yes. The second book is about the drummer of the band.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to have to keep reading these because they were
the drummer is the girl.
Yes.
Oh, that would be cool.
So Serena Bowen writes steamy contemporary romances in the Green Mountains of Vermont. She enjoys skiing, espresso drinks, and a nice glass of wine. I like her.
I like her too. I like that she likes skiing. That's not... Most people are like, I like coffee and my dog. That's like the majority of authors.
She lives with her family, 8 chickens, and more ski gear and hockey equipment than seems necessary. So I think this is also why I like Serena Bowen's hockey romance, because they're not fantastically out of touch with reality like some of the other hockey books we read recently. And then it turns out that I was really, really bad at taking notes for this book. I think it's because I got into it. So these are all my notes.
That's more notes than I wrote.
Which says nothing. I think I found a continuity thing, and then I write, this was a bit of a sweet story. The rockstar bit felt a bit unreal because he had very little control over his own schedule and his own life, which felt unreasonable when they're at that level. I feel like you get more control the more famous you get, kind of thing, over what you want to do with your life. And I didn't mind the kid. She was cute.
Okay,
this was literally all of my notes on this book. So can you just take a crack at summarizing this a little bit?
Let's go all the way back to the beginning so that our listeners understand what we're talking about. And let's look at the cover.
Have to explain stuff?
Let's look at the cover.
Yeah, I hate this cover. Can I just say I hate it?
This cover was so bad. I would not have chosen this book based on this cover.
First off, he looks like he's in his 50s.
He very much looks old and rough and raggedy, like he's been through all of the drugs in his life. Yeah. And not really sexy in any way.
No, he just looks too old because he's, 30 in this book?
Yeah.
He looks 50. Like, he looks like
the cover.
Aerosmith... something, or whatever.
Well, you reminded me.
Metallica went, and that's the thing too. Like they make them seem. It's about this band called Hush Notes,
right?
Where he's the lead singer, Jonas. But one summer he spent living as a boarder by a lake in Maine, and during that summer he befriended a local girl called Kira. Is that Kira? It's not Kira. What's her name then?
Is it Kira?
Isn't it Kira? I think it's Kira. Am I crazy? Is it Kira?
No, my brain is just mush. My brain is mush.
I'm gonna have to look it up now. Lies and...
But I think you're right that it's Kira, but I think that they had like pet names for each other throughout the book, so we didn't actually get her...
She calls... He calls himself John... instead of Jonas. So she doesn't actually know who he is. And it's Nest Lake is where they're at. And her name is... It doesn't actually say her name.
Lovely.
What is her name? She's nameless. Kira.
It is Kira.
It is Kira.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And this summer he's there, he befriends this girl Kira, whose father owns the local grocery store, convenience store kind of thing. And she has a little cafe in the back where she makes food and he doesn't cook for himself, so he goes there and she starts making food for him every day, and they strike up a friendship, and it's very platonic, the whole summer.
Because we find out during their friendship that she was assaulted in Boston recently and she was raped.
Yeah.
So she has trauma from that.
Yep.
She also has an ex-boyfriend who is abroad overseas in the army in Afghanistan. And he is escaping his real life to have like a pause and also write for his album. So he goes under a pseudonym of John Smith. So nobody knows who he is. And he just has this summer being a friend with her because he knows he can't go anywhere because he hasn't even told her what his real name is.
No, and it's just friends, and it's part of his thing, Jonas, that he wants to kind of have this relationship with her as friends and not have the romance aspect of it because he feels that he's been living maybe a little bit too much of the rock star life, you know, and taking too much from girls and not actually like finding like bond and making it about the friendship. So that's part of it. So they have and then right as he's about to leave, she basically tells him that, look, I want to sleep with you. This happened to me and I want to be with someone that I feel safe with. Would you do this for me? And then they end up sleeping together. And she takes care of the birth control unsuccessfully, we may say.
Yeah.
And there's a baby that came out of this one night.
Can we talk about this birth control for a hot minute? Yeah. Birth control gel? Is this a thing?
Well, it's a sperm killing gel, right? But I don't think I've ever heard of it being used just on its own. It's kind of like if you wear, you know, the stuff that you put in there and you put the gel on top because it's like a double protection thing. Like
I haven't not heard of this gel, though I have 3 kids,
called,
so
but like
I'm not really great at birth control.
I only come up with the Swedish word for it now. But there's like a thing that you can put up that like blocks access to...
Like a cup or a
sponge, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think you use the gel with that to kind of double stop it. But I don't think I've ever heard of it being used like on its own. But I what do I know? Nothing. I know nothing.
She also knows nothing because the very first time she had sex after her incident, she gets pregnant.
And a baby comes out of this.
But she doesn't know who the father's real name is and has no way of contacting him.
Well, she has a way of contacting him because she has... well, he leaves his phone number with her, but she doesn't have it.
No, it rubbed off during their sexy times.
Yeah, but then he's forgotten his guitar, and when it gets sent back, she sends a letter with it saying...
That was the only last way. And it says, I love you in the letter.
Yeah.
And he decides, my life is too fucked up for me to respond to this, but... He does love her because he brings his letter with him.
Oh yeah, he keeps
for the next 4 years all around the world on all the tours as his band becomes more and more successful. After she gives birth and the baby's about 1.5, she goes into a record store and sees his face on a record and realizes the father of the baby is not John Smith, but is Jonas Smith, this famous rock musician.
And she stalks him a little bit online, as you would, and... but she feels at that point it's gone on for too long. She can't really contact him. She's doing okay with the baby. Like she doesn't need.
Her and her brother are raising the baby together.
Yeah, and her brother is gay. Not that it matters.
And have a grumpy father, but that's just side story stuff.
Yeah, and he loves the kid.
So then Jonas and his band are about to play at venue near this little village, and he and the drummer walk into the village. He's like, I'm going to show you this place, and he doesn't assume that he's going to see this girl, but he does, and they kiss immediately like long lost lovers would. And then she realizes, oh, now I just kissed him. She sees his drummer. She thinks she just kissed him in front of his girlfriend, and fuck, I gotta tell him about our kid now. So she kind of like runs away, and they don't deal with it until the next day. He goes to the house, sees the kid, and just immediately clicks in that obviously this is my kid. She looks like me, and
got the same eye color and stuff. So
and the math adds up, and so there's a little bit of anger happening around there because why didn't you tell me? Okay, well, why didn't you contact me? Why didn't you respond to my letter? So there's this back and forth while they try to build their relationship back up, but there's just too much unresolved angst still for it to be a healthy relationship. But still, she goes to the venue. They tell the baby or the 4-year-old that this is your dad.
Yeah, and she like Vivi is. I loved Vivi in this book. Like she's really sweet. She's the kid. She's 4, about to turn Or she's, It's been 5 years anyway. So Kira was 20 when she met him and he was 25. And now he's 30 and she's 25. And the kid's about 4. And she's like, she bosses her grandpa around. Yeah. She loves her uncle and he loves her back. And when she finds out that Jonah's her dad, she's like, are you my daddy? And he's like, actually, yes. And then she's like, great. And then she tells everyone that it's her daddy. And everyone's like, but you don't have a dad. Are we sure about this?
No, she accepted him right away. That was really cute that there wasn't like that sort of plot where there was the kid was going to be angry at the dad. She just accepted him and she's a really cute kid.
Very cute kid.
So they go to his concert and they get so tired they go back to the room and he meets them back in the room and they're sleeping on the bed and he feels this overwhelming sense of home and he seduces her into sleeping with him that night, I think.
Yeah.
And she admits to him that she hasn't slept with anybody since him.
And he can't say the same because, well, he's a rock star.
He's been man-whoring.
But then I found that even I, honestly, like, you're usually the one who's like, talk to each other and do conversation. Like, these people are terrible at talking to each other. He was pretty good at it, but she was very much like, as soon as she ran into any kind of, instead of asking him about it, instead of like getting answers, instead of communicating, she would just shut down and like ignore his calls, ignore his text messages, like not talk to him until he would be like, why are you not talking to me? And then it's like the drummer of his band, the girl, she was trying to sabotage them by letting like some other woman answer his phone when he's on tour and she can't be with him, and he confronts her right away, like he makes her pick up the phone and like explain why would you do that and why are you trying to ruin this for me, kind of thing.
But and also when he says to her, how could you think that I cheated on you or that I was with another woman? And she's like, well, we're not together and you're a rock star and this has been your life for the last how many ever years. So yeah, duh.
Yeah, but
I didn't like you trying to throw it back on her. I was like, no, you're losing this fight. You're
for sure. But she was also not talking to her. Like it was kind of like the problem with their entire relationship was just her not talking to him.
Yeah.
Like her running away from him at all times. Like he had to chase her down like a lot of the times and just be like, please listen to me. I just want to explain what's going on. And she'd be like, no.
True. I liked her brother and how he had a dry spell but then slept with the big black tour manager.
And I kept waiting for like the tour manager to be book 2 because it's a series, but it's the drummer who's the book 2, but I'm sure we're going to see. And the guitar player has like issues. He gets very sad and destructive in the summer.
Yeah,
and stuff.
And he ODs.
I cannot wait to read his book.
I know,
that's going to be
really
good.
moody for sure.
Yeah.
Because why is he so down? That's what we don't know. Why did he do all those drugs and not want to live?
But I find that what I really liked about this book, I mean, it was steamy.
Yeah.
There was drama. But Kira and Jonas were actually like a sweet couple when they got together. Like he really loved her and he really wanted the family. And I love that he finds out that he has a kid and it's immediate. It's not like, ugh, show me proof. It was like, I can see that she's mine. Like I have eyes.
But there was some lawyer stuff which is realistic in that sort of world.
For sure.
But he gets around and says like, basically, I trust you. Like I know you. You wouldn't lie to me.
And he really wants to be a good dad, like from the get-go. I really like that. Like I don't usually like kids in my books, but it was sexy with a dad that's like has this sprung on him, and instead of having like a existential crisis of my life is now going to be ruined and I'm going to be tied down forever, you know, it's just like, this is a freaking great kid. Let's have more, because this was his whole thing too. Like he wanted to have more babies because he wanted to be there through the pregnancy. He wanted to be there for the birth.
That was very sweet.
Yeah.
And there was another side part of the story. Oh yeah, that there was music in this book. So
the first time they started singing, I'm like, what is going on?
So
did I accidentally turn on Spotify?
Because of the cover, I just identified him as Dave Grohl. Like, that's just what he looks like to me on the cover, and so that's what he looked like to me in the book also. And then I thought his band was a band where it was like actual rock music, like Foo Fighters kind of thing. But then
I thought so too.
It was like beam, boom, beam, and the music came on, and it was basically like, hey there, Delilah. And I was like, What?
But it was so out of character, and it was honestly like, Serena, I love you, you're a fantastic freaking author, but don't change day jobs and start writing music, because that was just not good. The lyrics was terrible, and even the melody was not good. And the whole thing that is like, he called her Sweetness, and then the song Sweetness, and I'm like, oh, God. So
I know, it's not great. Like, I have a hard time with ballads anyways. I would not love to be serenaded. It's like not in a wish.
Oh, you never had one of those where you lived and then there's a group of people, there's always someone with a guitar that's like, hey,
1000% I have been serenaded by this guy.
Let me play your
His name
song.
was James Arthur, and he was going to be the next biggest thing. And he went to my high school, and he did it to all the girls. To get all the girls, he sat down and played his guitar and serenaded them with his curly blonde locks. You know how much I love that. And it won me over for a little bit.
You're like, it worked. I do like serenades. Turns out my previous statement was false.
I just was like, focus on the hair. Turn the ears off.
So beautiful.
Just look at the pretty face. Think of the abs, Jerrica.
Think of the abs. There's this Swedish singer who sings like kind of funny songs in a way. Like he's very... observations about society kind of songs, and he has a song that's called like The Troubadour, and it's like when a singer-songwriter once got like a whole like the chance to play his favorite song, it's impossible to get him to stop. Like if he has started plucking his guitar, you might as well just and this, it's true. When I was in my early 20s and I was living in Brighton and stuff, whenever we had a party, there was at least one guy with a guitar at every single party. Yeah. That would be like, hey guys!
And that guy
let me play you something.
Always got laid.
Yeah, but everyone freaking hated it though. Like
they did?
Yeah, because it's always too long and they always play and it's like you have to turn off all the other music and then everyone has to sit there and be
girls are moths to a fucking flame with guitar players. Like
but it's the fingers. They got very quick fingers.
This is true. They could do some work. And I was in Barcelona once with my girlfriend just on a party trip, and we went to the beach in the evening time after dinner, and we hear a guitar, and we're like, ha 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 ha, here we go, here's our wings. Where's the guitar player? Where? Oh, group of people singing and dancing to guitar music. There we go. Hello, friends. Hello, cute guy playing a guitar. What's your name? Doesn't matter. Don't tell me.
It's better in my head. Okay, did you read the If I Stay book, the Gail Forman? It was made into a movie with Chloe Moretz a few years back, but it's this movie. The book is really good. It's about a family that's in a car crash and only the daughter lives, but she's in a coma. And the whole book, she's basically in a coma the entire book, and her boyfriend is by her side, and it's all flashbacks from her life and how, and him telling her what their life can be like if she just stays. And she's kind of has like this out of body, so she feels like she's standing, like looking at her own body. Like it's really good, the book. And she's remembering like the good versus how much it's gonna hurt if she actually wakes up and has to deal with like her entire family dying, kind of thing. And in that, she's a really good cello player. And he's a really good guitarist, and his band is about to take off, and they have a section scene in that where
she's in a coma?
in a flashback where he plays her like his guitar, and this is like the whole thing.
So sexy. I'm approving of that. And if you want to serenade me, you could do it manually.
Yeah. And you should probably not read If I Stay. Because
it's a car crash. I can't handle it. Something innate inside of me doesn't...
Is it since you had babies, or has it always been like this?
No, I can't actually say, because I don't think I was much of a crier before babies, so it's probably after a baby.
Because I cannot hear sirens since I had babies. Like to this day, and I mean, my babies are not freaking babies anymore. They're more than a decade away from being babies. But every time I hear sirens, I will cry. And there's like no logic to it.
Do not move to New York.
No, but it's like even Montreal. It was terrible, But it's just, I don't know. It's just, and it can be police. It can be anything. But it's usually like I feel like someone's hurt somewhere, this is sad, I should be sad.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I can't, and even if I have to take like deep breaths and be like, calm yourself down, nothing to cry about, you know.
Maybe it is something that has happened after.
This came after the babies. I mean, I could definitely listen to sirens before the babies, but this just changed the balance in my brain.
No.
But, you know, it's also made me...
listen to car crash. I can't read car crash books. I just cry. I just, like, break down. It's like your dad died in a car crash 30 years ago.
And I'm like, so fucking sad.
That's the saddest storyline I've ever read.
Oh, well. We're going to try to avoid a car crash.
Her mom died in a car crash in this book, right? No, she was sick.
I can't remember. But her mom is not there anyways.
Right. Anyways, I would definitely recommend this book.
Me too.
Do not look at the cover, because then it's just going to put you off in a weird direction. But
good.
But read or listen to this book. Amazing narration. Of course, I am biased because I love Aaron Mallon, but I also really like the male narrator in this book as well. And they both did fantastic other gender voices too. Mm-hmm. Overall, like, really love this book. It surprised me because I did not think I was going to like it based on what it looked like. Yeah. So, happy surprise, 5 stars.
5 stars. I don't know if I gave it 5 stars, but I was up there. I gave it lots of stars, and then I read out the books and I gave them hardly any stars. I've been a bit stingy with my stars lately. You just marked it. No, you rated it. Good. What did I rate it? 4 stars. 4 stars.
That was still good.
Yeah, but I like her. I like Serena Bond. I like the way she builds stories and all of this and that. I mean, it can be tropey and stuff, but I still like it, and I love all of her hockey books.
Oh, cool! I haven't read any of them, but I'll get into it because I really liked her.
But she wrote a whole hockey series with Elle Kennedy. Like they co-wrote it together.
Yes, I have read those.
Yes.
But I read the one that she co-wrote with Elle Kennedy. Remember, there was like the first book I read that was a throuple. Mm-hmm. And I was like, Lia. Lia, I don't think I can listen to this around my family. This is like way too sexy, for me to listen to it when I'm not in just a closed room. I think I was like on a train or something listening to it. I had my head down like in shame. Don't look directly in my eyes or else I might orgasm.
The next book we're talking about next week.
Yeah.
There's a section scene in that where involving an ice cube, and I listened to that while at work. And people were like right next to me, and I was like,
hand over your head, like just don't give me. I'm in the middle.
I'm like, no eye contact.
I'm in the middle of a very sexy moment in my head.
This is a very important phone call that I'm listening to. What are you guys talking about? So important. I need to pay attention to what these people are saying.
Somebody calls your name, you're like, shh.
I do that anyway, so my name.
Well, let's get to that book then.
Have I told you that I'm super smart?
Yes. That you are Mensa smart.
Maybe. We're not sure.
Borderline Mensa smart.
I'm in the top 4%, which it turns out I had to do this practice test for this job interview, and it was on the Mensa website, and at the end it says like, you have good chances of being a member in Mensa. You should do the actual supervised test for this. And I'm like, look at that. I am so fucking smart. And then I bragged so much about it that now every time I do dumb stuff, people go like, well, I thought you were smart. And this is really harsh.
What? It's true. It's true. I'm going to use that now too. I thought you were smart. Why'd you make that decision? You're supposed to be Mensa smart.
Yeah. Like, you can't spell this word. You can't. I'm like, I am good at a sequence of dots in a grid and how they will move in the next sequence. It has nothing to do with whatever it is we're talking about now. Give me 9 things with dots and I can tell you what the next sequence is going to be. Like, this on it. Anything else? Don't think so. So you know, to Mensa smart, you just need to know the dots.
So you're like smart on paper, not so much
I'm not even book smart because clearly I have no memory for shit. I'm puzzle smart. This is what I'm good at. This is abstract logical reasoning. This is I'm good at puzzles.
We need those people in our world. They are engineers.
No, I'm terrible at maths. I cannot do maths.
You can't do math? How can you be smart and can't do math?
I can do puzzles, I'm telling you. It's about what's
so
the
sure
next symbol in this sequence.
I'm not so sure how that's going to compute to
I'm not sure
being smart in the world, but nevertheless, you do you.
And honestly, I am tempted to do the Mensa test, but only... So I don't actually want to be a member of Mensa. I hear they don't use their intelligence for good things, and also it costs money, and I don't like that. But I want to do the test just to be able to put in my email signature.
Mensa.
Could be Mensa member.
Mensa member.
Mensa smart.
Mensa Lia. And then, I will now be known as Mensa Lia.
Exactly. And the funny part is like, when this happened, I was talking about it, and some people are like, "What's Mensa?" I'm like, "Oh, clearly you are not smart enough to even have this conversation with me." Yeah. I got a little bit braggy there. Not very Swedish.
The ego, tiny bit.
Yeah, I got a little bit big. But I've done enough stupid things since this test to know that I might be Mensa smart, but I'm not smart in real life smart. I still remember nothing, and I still have Swiss cheese memory, and yeah, so good. But next week we're reading your choice.
Yes.
Book Boyfriend.
Book Boyfriend.
We had to take a little break from Rory in a Kilt. We will come back with that after Book Boyfriend. It turns out Rory in a Kilt is very, very long, so we're going to need some extra time for that.
And it is very Scottish and Gaelic, so we had to learn a new language to listen to.
Exactly. So it's been a little bit of a struggle. So we took a little break and read this very quick book by Claire Kingsley called Book Boyfriend. So we'll talk about that next week, and if you want to read along with us, it's only about 6.5 hours.
Yes.
Should be doable. An hour a day and you're done.
There we go.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
We'd Rather Be Reading is an original podcast by Jerrica and Lia. The music for The Penguins, written and performed by David Allred from the album The Transition, courtesy of Erased Tapes. Please check him out on Spotify and check us out on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram at We'd Rather Be Reading and on Twitter at We'd Rather Read. You can also email us at we'dratherbereadingthepod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.